welcome to Council Catch-Up. I'm your host, Derek Westby, here on WSTO TV. Just a reminder, WSTO TV is on TDS channel 981 in HD, on Spectrum channel 981, on your Roku, Apple TV, and Fire TVs, as well as on your Android and iOS device on YouTube and Facebook. I'm here with Mayor Swadley to talk about the July 23rd, 2024 City Council meeting. Welcome.
Good morning.
So you had the call to order and certification of compliance with the open records laws. Nothing happened really in public comment or communications or consent agenda, so we'll skip all the way down to new business, where we start with Resolution 124 of 2024, relating to a certified survey map at 1125 West Main Street.
So 1125 West Main Street is a piece of property that was owned by a nonprofit group out of Madison, and they originally were going to build a fourplex unit there, and things just didn't come together the way they had planned as far as acquiring grant money, and with the cost of supply chain issues back then and labor issues, they decided not to move forward with the project. We reached out to Habitat to see if they were interested in acquiring the land, which they did, and they're in the process of splitting up the lot so they can put a couple single-family homes there.
All right. Then next we had a first reading of Ordinance 16 of 2024, amending the general development plan for part of Kettle Park West.
So Kettle Park West has a series of what we call alley lots. These are lots that are split by a private driveway, basically a private road, and we have a builder, D.R. Horton, that is interested in acquiring, I believe it was 72 of the lots to do some twin homes as well as some single-family homes. They're kind of sectioned off in blocks, so some of the blocks have 6 single-family lots that were approved, and what they'd like to do is make those 6 twin homes and use the lot line as a 0 lot line, which is pretty common in Stoughton. It would be the same amount of density that we originally had approved for the single-family homes, but it would be twin homes instead. And then some of the blocks have 7 lots, so they would have more than likely 6 twin homes and then 1 single-family lot to fill out the balance of those lots there. The utilities underground are already in place. The road is in place. So what they're trying to do is lay out these lots so all the utilities will line up to the twin homes. As I mentioned initially, the plat was approved for single-family homes, but the way they're going to lay out the twin homes, everything should line up pretty good for them. They may have to move some of the electrical. That would be at the builder's cost. But we're excited that we have an opportunity to potentially build these out here in the next few years. There's an additional 20-some lots available in a next phase if they decide to pursue that. They also are building in some flexibility, so if the single-family market is stronger than they anticipated, they could take some of them twin homes and turn them into single-family homes. And then basically that will take up that section of the plat out at Kettle Park West, and then I understand that Lennar has been acquiring additional lots, so they plan on finishing the rest of the lots, the bigger ones that are north of that. So that development is really kind of coming together and reaching its potential.
Awesome. Next we have Resolution 125 of 2024, regarding Stafford and Rosenbaum LLP representing the city and the town of Dunn.
So we're working on having agreements with the townships for the use of the senior center, and our attorneys in the past have done work with the town of Dunn. They're one of the municipalities that we'd be working with, the township, and we just need to have a conflict waiver. Our attorney, Rick Matthew, has not himself done work with the town of Dunn, but their firm has, so this is standard procedure just to make sure everybody understands that there wouldn't be a conflict of interest.
All right. And then Resolution 126 to amend the 2024 budget in relating to bike racks on Main Street.
Yeah, so this one here, we're looking at installing additional bike racks around the Main Street area. Probably wouldn't be directly on Main Street. We're looking at maybe some of the municipal parking lots where we already have parking, because the official bike trail will go around Main Street. We really don't encourage bicyclists to go down Main Street because of the heavy traffic. There was originally there was going to be an ARPA request, American Rescue Plan Act money request, and after discussion with Finance Director Ellinger, it was decided that there was extra money that we had borrowed for in the past that hadn't been spent. So we decided to go that route instead, which uses up that money, and it allows us not to have to report that in our ARPA audits, so that it creates less paperwork for the finance department.
All right. Resolution 127 of 2024, an agreement for reimbursement for TID number 9.
So TID number 9 is 51 West, and we have a builder that's interested in doing some apartments on the west side of the highway near Rutland Dunn Town Line Road, and JT Klein is that builder. They've done numerous projects throughout Dane County, several of them in Middleton. I've toured the Middleton facility, and they specialize in workforce housing and 55 and older housing, multi-units. So they work with WSTO tax credits. And initially, when we platted out and approved this development and tax incremental financing, we'd always anticipated that there would be a workforce housing component. And the previous builder that was looking at that had applied for the WSTO tax credits at 9%, and they're based on a point system. And one of the things that prevented us from being successful in that grant application was the fact that we don't have public transportation that would get us from Stoughton to Madison, and that's 5 points, and it's kind of a difference maker when the evaluations are getting done. So that's kind of a competitive program, and what JT Klein is proposing is they would do a 4% WSTO tax credit deal, which is not as competitive. That money is usually pretty available, and then they would also work with Dane County and other funding sources, and then use the tax incremental financing to make up any potential gap. So what we were basically authorizing last night was for city staff to work with our financial consultant Ellers to go through the financial pro forma to see whether or not TIF assistance is appropriate for that development and what that might look like, and also enter into a cost reimbursement agreement, which we do with the developers to have them pay for our cost to have Ellers perform that analysis, as well as our city attorney, any work that they may do. So we can get reimbursed basically for our costs in order to move forward on these developments.
All right, and then the last item on the agenda was discussion and possible action regarding operational tax levy.
Yeah, so this one here is basically every year we have our budgeting process that we go through. We have two parts of our budget. We have what we call our CIP, which is capital improvement projects, and those are usually large purchases that we borrow for, roads, buildings, vehicles, equipment, those types of things. And we typically have a subcommittee that focuses on the staff recommendations, and the subcommittee is made up of the 6 council members that chair the standing committees. So that's the first part of the process. And then the second part is our operations budget, which is mostly personnel costs and some of our daily supplies that we use. And what we're looking at doing in the past, we've had committee of the whole meetings to make the recommendations to city council on our operations budget. And what we're looking to do is streamline that process and run that through the finance committee and then right to the city council. In the operations budget, there's really not that many decisions you can make because of the state spending cap. We're somewhat limited in our flexibility. We know we're going to tax based on our net new construction that we get and the allowable tax rates that we have. So the decisions really come down to, how much of a raise should the employees get, what our increased health insurance costs will be, where we settle at with our bargaining units, and those types of things. Build in our inflationary factors for insurances and utilities. So at the end of the day, there's not a whole lot of decisions to be made. Probably the biggest one is if there is excess money available, it would be for additional staffing. And what we do is we run those requests from our department heads through the personnel committee. So, and those are typically, do we take a part-time position and make it full-time? You know, do we add another police officer or a public works director, public works person? Last year we hired 2 people to work in fire and EMS. So those are the things that we look at, but we run them through the personnel. So we're really trying to create efficiencies and less meetings for the entire council members by utilizing the committees.
All right. And that's all we had for the July 23rd, 2024 City Council meeting. We'll see you next time on Council Catch Up right here on WSTO TV.